So good evening, dear students. On behalf of the Board of Studies Academic ICAI, uh, I warmly welcome all of you to the first session of the live virtual revisionary class for the forthcoming examination year November 26, right? And as you enter the final phase of your examination preparation, revision assumes greater importance than ever before. And these classes have specifically designed to help you to revisit the key concepts, understand examination oriented approach, clarify doubts, and strengthen your confidence before the examination, right? So today's session marks the beginning of our revision journey in auditing. It is a subject that lies at the heart of the CA profession, right? It is a core. Auditing is not merely about procedures or standards, it is about professional judgment, ethical conduct, skepticism, and the ability to apply knowledge in practical situations, right? So, during these revisionary classes, the focus will be on conceptual clarity, examination strategy, application based learning, important topics, definitely important questions we are going to discuss, important topics which are generally asked in the examination, and the questions which are generally posed in the examination are also being part of the coverage, and definitely practical guidance for effective answer writing skills, right? So I encourage all the students to actively participate, make notes of key points, identify areas requiring further revision, and utilize these sessions as an opportunity to fine tune your preparation, right? So I'm confident that with disciplined revision, focused efforts, and proper guidance, each one of you will be able to perform at best of your abilities and for the November 26th examination, right? So, before we proceed for the LVRC, you all are aware that if you have gone through the session plan is divided in such a manner that we are starting our today's session, right, with professional ethics. And you all are aware that now revised code of ethics is there. So you must be having curiosity whether it is applicable for your November 26 examination or not. So dear students, for November 26 examination, revised code of ethics is not applicable. So same chapter will be applicable for you. And you all should be all must be aware that where you can find all the resources which BOS provides you, right? So we can go to ICAI site, right? And on student BOS knowledge portal is there, right? And when we go to BOS knowledge portal, you can see that we are having our study material, we are having our Saransh last mile referencer, right? We also have our case scenario booklets for final course, for intermediate course, right? May 26 examination onwards. So in this booklet, you are already having 60 case scenarios, of which, like, if you prepare, you can definitely practice with the help of these case scenario. And I am sure that you might have till now also covered, and you have observed that after the answer we have also given the reason for the correct answer, right? So when you are preparing, you should be knowing that what are the options available with us, that with the help of which we can have our study in stronger manner, right? We also we also provide you revisionary test paper. We also conduct mock test paper. So with the help of those mock test paper, you can definitely identify the weaker areas, the topics where you are finding difficulty. And with the help of these LVRC, what is the difference between live virtual class and live virtual revisionary class? During LVC, we start our studies with the concepts. During LVRC, what we are going to do, we will understand with the help of practice of questions, right? So today is our first topic which we are taking is, and for the weightage for this section 5 professional ethics is 20 to 27 marks. Okay, so this is very important topic, very interesting topic, professional ethics. And why professional ethics matter? for examination perspective also, if we write in the examination, what are do's and don't, how we should pursue further. In today's session, it will be covered by the our learned faculty. Dear students, ethics is the foundation of the CA profession, right? Technical competence without ethical conduct can undermine public trust. So we have to comply with our ethical requirement, right? Um, Akhtar is writing, ma'am, I am only starting preparation now with the help of LPRC. If I attend, one second, Akhtar. If I attend, it will be enough. Yeah, Akhtar, definitely the revisionary classes will help you, but you can understand that revisionary classes, in the revisionary classes, we it's in short, and we will understand the concept with the help of questions. So of course those questions will definitely help you for your preparation, but yes, in-depth study you have to do. And today we are in July, and today is 7 July 2026, right? And your examination is in November. So if we follow strategic manner for our preparation, like every day, if we are studying for 2 to 3 hours, maybe for 1 or 2 hours, we are studying standards. You all are aware that we are having 46 standards. And nowadays, from the chapter number 8, 9, 10, 11, also simultaneously topics are being asked. So please don't leave any of the topic, and every day you should study at least one standard. Apart from the same, means 46 standards means 46 days. Maybe you can carry, sometimes you have missed, sometimes you find difficulty in any of the standard, it might take 2 days, right? So for that, if you prepare like 46, if we can think of like 50, 55, or maybe 60 days. So 7 July means 7 September, your standards are fully complete. And when you have studied the standard maybe for 1.5 hours or 2 hours, 1 hour you can give profession to the professional ethics topic, right? And if you study professional ethics topic on consecutive basis, maybe 7 to 10 days in partial manner, and next day you are revising the same, and very next day you are again revising, so it will be you will be able to retain in much effective manner. Apart from this, if you are doing writing practice, definitely that will also help you during your examination. It means आपको multiple revision करना है. It should not so happen that today we have studied and we are revising after 7 days or 10 days or 15 days. So continuous, if we are revising 2 times apart from the study, it will definitely help you. Then if you are doing writing practice on continuous basis, that will also help you in speed also, and in the examination also you'll be able to identify the requirement of the question and how you should answer that, right? So for 10 days, if we have divided for professional ethics simultaneously with standard, thereafter we can start with section 2, digital auditing, or ESG, right? So if we continues for 3 hours, if we are studying for auditing subject, it will definitely help you. And simultaneously, we are doing writing practice also. In the examination, you will not find difficulty. You will be able to write required and relevant answer. You'll be able to recall because of simultaneous revision. Continuous revision will definitely help you. And when you are having writing practice, you will definitely review and analyze where we are lacking, so that when we are studying next day, we will be able to emphasize that what we were missing when we were writing the answer. Now, moving towards our LVRC plan. So today we are commencing with very interesting and very important section, as I already mentioned, professional ethics chapter. And faculty for today's session, it's my privilege to introduce today's faculty that we are fortunate to have CA Harshit Tekwani among us. He is a distinguished chartered accountant, educator, mentor. He is having extensive experience in teaching also, right? Harshad is a chartered accountant and lawyer with more than 12 years experience in risk advisory, data privacy, AML, audit and compliances, forensic audit and black money law. He is also certified fraud examiner and certified information privacy professional. He has experience working with the Big Fours, Johnson Control, etc. He has experience in advising clients on the complex transactions, inbound and outbound investment advisory, advising on merger, acquisition, business risk, streamlining business process, right? So he is known for understanding the need of business and providing focused solution. So being advisor to the clients on data privacy risk assessment, cyber and AI law and issue in intellectual property right. He has been a regular speaker at various forum, right? He uh, he is our BOS LVC faculty also, and he has been in India's panel also for young member mentorship at WIRC. So, and apart from this, he has also authored many articles, research paper, right? So, not taking much of the time on the introduction because you all are well known with connected with him because he is already our LVC faculty, and you might have seen his lectures also on the BOS mobile app, right? BOS Knowledge Portal, wherein our earlier LVC classes are there. So, not taking much of the time, please remember for the I'm just handing over to Harshad sir. But before that, just wanted to tell you because in the examination, the questions which are being asked are of three type of skills: knowledge based, application based, or evaluation and synthesis based. Generally, on professional ethics topic, the questions are application based, right? Application based as if you need to understand the situation, you need to identify the clause requirement or whatever like legal implications are there, ethical point of view, you need to see whether it's impacting threats, safeguards, or fundamental principle point of view, or maybe from the clauses, disciplinary mechanism, or council general guideline point of view. So you need to identify which provision will be applicable in that situation, that clause or that guideline wala part you need to give. Then you need to explain with the help of fact of the case, interlink, and of course, conclusion is very, very important. So please remember for each and every step, there are specific marks. So do remember that when you are like today, you have attended the session, you need to prepare your notes. You need to practice with the help of questions and see what kind of steps are being followed. Definitely, while taking you through this chapter, Harshad sir will also emphasize that yes, this is very important part, and he will also tell you what kind of mistakes generally students are doing in the examination. He will guide you that yes, for professional misconduct, whether we can write other misconduct or not. Whether it is very important to write the clause number. If you do not remember, then how to pursue, right? So please, first of all, so when you are revising, when you are learning, develop this habit that you are able to write that this clause number, part number of first schedule or second schedule of Chartered Accountant Act 1949. You need to write all those things, and the set language is there for the clauses. That also definitely you can write, and mnemonics you can prepare so that in the examination you are able to write the clause, or you are able to remember that which clause will be attracted. Generally, Harshad sir, when you are teaching, please emphasize that generally students are confused with clause 6 and 7 also for the first schedule. So please see that how we can clear their doubts. Of course, if they will read the chapter carefully, all the points, it's totally distinguished, different, right? So if you have done in-depth study, you will not get confused. Generally, when students talk with us, their feedback is they are not able to understand the requirement. So if you are doing in-depth study, detailed study, definitely you will not find this issue. And as I mentioned you, the strategy for preparation, that at least 3 hours every day, if you are studying, you will definitely get more than, and writing practice and reviewing the same, that how we can improve further. If you are working on the same, definitely it will help you and you can get more than 60 marks. So how can I get in touch with you to better? Yeah, number is 01203045 You can also reach out to us through ask your query feature, and you can write to us on auditing dash final @ICAI.in also. I am CA Karuna Bhansali, faculty for CA Final Paper 3 Advanced Auditing Assurance and Professional Ethics. So, with these words, I extend a warm welcome to CA Harshit Tekwani and request him to kindly take over the session and guide our students. And thank you and best wishes to all my dear students for this productive and enriching learning experience. All the best. I am there if you need any guidance. I am there to guide you. But yes, over to you, Harshit sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the session. Today we are going to start with the one very important topic, as ma'am suggested, professional ethics. Now, this topic, why it is very important? Because of the weightage you can see, and plus, if you see that professional ethics we talk about, it's a base for a chartered accountant. Ethics is a very important for each and every chartered accountant. Okay, as a result, every chartered accountant or the person who wishes to be a chartered accountant has to understand what is ethics and how ethics works. See, first of all, in this particular entire session, we will be solving a lot of questions. We will be solving a lot of, like scenarios, and we will be looking into the answers, how we need to write the answers for those particular questions. Okay. Along with that, we will understand the key concepts as and when it will come in the question. So let's go and let's start the question solving. Let's understand the question, how the question comes, how to write the answer for that particular question, and how you need to understand what to write, because for each and every question you need to understand what to write in the exam, how to write for that particular question. Okay. Majorly we will be dividing the entire discussions between the first schedule and the second schedule, and we will be seeing other questions also of the professional ethics topic which are there, but let's start with this. So I have one very important question, one very good question to start with. Okay, and I'll read for you guys. CA Yug, a practicing charter accountant, is a promoter director of CDS Private Limited and is also a sleeping partner in his family garment manufacturing business. Is CA Yug liable for professional misconduct as per the Chartered Accountants Act 1949? Okay. Now, what we need to see is basically, see, for each and every question, first of all, I just tell you how we need to proceed. For each and every question, what we need to do is we need to understand the topic on which it is there, and then accordingly we need to answer that particular question. Okay. Now, if I ask you guys, what is your opinion on this particular question, like what you think, is CA Yug liable for professional misconduct? Yes or no? Quickly, you guys can write in the query, you guys can write in the chat, and or if you have an option, you can unmute and answer. So what do you think? Is CA Yug liable for professional misconduct? No. Okay. Very good, Akhtar. Okay. Anyone else? See, don't worry about the wrong answer. You need to answer, you need to understand. The moment you will answer, you will understand that what was the answer. See, if I give an answer right now, you will come to know whether it's a right or wrong. But you, by that process, you will learn that what is a right answer, what is a wrong answer. Okay. So once you will answer, you will remember my answer was wrong or my answer was right. So I'm pretty much sure you will understand the topic now. Okay. So yes, very good, Prem Kumar. So basically, see, first of all, whenever you get a topic or you get a question, understand from which topic it pertains. Okay. In this particular scenario, what is the scenario is that there is a chartered accountant, practicing chartered accountant, who is a promoter director, again, promoter director of a CDS Private Limited. And he's also a sleeping partner in his entire family garment manufacturing business. Now, by this particular reading, you can understand that it has something to do with the business. It has something to do with other type of activities, whether chartered accountant in practice can engage into or not. Okay. So this promoter director or sleeping partner, you need to understand whether it is permissible or not. And for that, the relevant clause is clause 11, part 1 of first schedule. Okay. Clause 11, of part 1 of first schedule. Now, very important thing, a lot of students do a very big mistake over here. The mistake is how you need to write clause 11 part 1 of first schedule. A lot of students know that, okay, this is clause 11, but how to write clause 11? Now, understand one thing, these clauses, part, schedules, they are from the act. They are part of the act. So you cannot deviate the way they are written or the way they are quoted. Okay. Because whenever you write from act, you need to appropriately write it. For example, income tax act. For example, companies act. Okay. You provide a proper section number. You cannot deviate the section number. Have you written something like this? 236 section or 239 section? No. This is not the way we write the act or the sections. We write it section 236 bracket subsection, or we write the subsection this, subsection this. Okay, accordingly, this is a law. The way we need to write, there is an appropriate way for that, and that is we need to write first with the clause 11 in the brackets of part 1. And part 1, when I talk about, this is Roman. Okay, do not write numerical, do not write any other way. It will be inappropriate. Okay, so this is Roman part 1, and then you have a first schedule. Okay, the first schedule, and the first schedule is a wordings, like it is not in numericals, so it's in the text. So if you write instead of this, if you write like this, first schedule, okay, that is wrong. If you write schedule 1, that is wrong, because schedule 1 is different, first schedule is different. So you cannot write schedule 1, first schedule in numericals or that way. No, you have to write clause 11, part 1 of the first schedule to the Charter Accountants Act. This is very important. You need to provide this reference. Okay. So to the Charter Accountants Act, because this is a law. From this law, you are quoting a particular provision. So this is how you need to write the entire clause 11, part 1 of the first schedule to the CA Act. Okay. Basic understanding how to write the clause. Because if you do a mistake over here, it is kind of a blunder, because you are incorrectly quoting a law. Okay. Now coming to the clause 11 part 1 of first schedule. Now what clause 11 says? Can anyone quickly tell me what clause 11 says? That a charter accountant in practice, okay, he can engage in the certain occupations where he has a general permission. He can engage into certain occupations only after taking the permission of the council. So there are two divisions. Okay, there are two divisions. Yes or no? Now, can anyone tell me whether this is a general permission or whether this is the specific one? And which is that particular regulation wherein this particular bifurcation is given? Anyone? So is it only the clause where the bifurcation is given, or is there any particular regulation from where we are drawing this reference? Okay, Prem Kumar. Anyone else? Anyone? Separate regulation? Yes. Very good, Samanathan. Yes, absolutely correct. So basically it goes to the clause 11, okay, and the regulation is 190A. If you read the regulation 190A, there is an appendix 9 to the CA regulations, which is coming from regulation 190A. Okay, over there this entire list is given. Let's go and quickly see the clause 11 first, and then the particular regulation 190A. So clause 11 talks about that any charter accountant in practice, if he engages in any business or occupation other than the profession of a charter accountant, unless permitted by council, so to engage, then he will be held guilty of which misconduct? Which misconduct? Other or professional? Other or professional? Very good. Yes, professional misconduct. Okay. He will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Okay. Now, in this particular area, there are exceptions to this clause 11. The exception says that first, there is nothing which is stopping a chartered accountant from being a director, not a managing director, not a whole-time director. No. So you can be a director, perfectly fine, yes, but you cannot be a managing director or whole-time director. No. Okay. Not being a managing director and whole-time director. And director also, unless you as a chartered accountant in practice or your any of partner is not interested in such company as an auditor, okay, then you can be, otherwise you cannot, otherwise it will be a conflict of interest. Okay, so first is with respect to the director, something is permissible for the director. Okay, then we will go to the appendix 9 of the CA regulation, which is under your regulation 190. Appendix 9 of CA regulation under regulation 190, which is divided into two parts, where one you have a general resolution, like chartered accountant in practice can engage into these activities, and specific resolution where chartered accountant in practice needs to take permission. Now, if you see over here, so point number 1 in the specific resolution talks about that full-time, part-time employment in a business concern, provided the member or relatives do not hold substantial interest, plus point number 4, inherited interest in the family business concern, okay, including interest devolving on a member as a result of inheritance, successions, or partition. If because of the partition, succession, or inheritance, if that interest is coming to you, that interest also, okay, so interest in the family business or concern in which interest has been acquired as a result of relationship and management of which you are not taking any active part in that particular management. Okay, and the manager of which no active part is taken, so you should not be taking any active part. For that you can ask for the special permission. Okay, so this is one area where interest in the family business concern is required, like special permission. Okay, now let's go to this particular area. Here he is a promoter director. Second, he is a sleeping partner. Now, is promoter director a managing director or whole-time director? Is promoter director is a managing director or a whole-time director? Yes, no, quickly. Not whole-time director. Yes, very good. So promoter director, understand, promoter director is not a managing director or whole-time director. It's a director only. Okay, it's a director. It's a category of a director, but it is primarily director, unless and until it's not a managing director, whole-time director. Promoter director is a director simpliciter or director simple. So this we saw that as per the clause 11 is fine. You can be a director, not an issue. However, sleeping partner, where you have a family garment business, manufacturing business, okay. Now here there is no thing provided with respect to the active part, but the term which is used is a sleeping partner. We will assume that no active part is taken because it's a sleeping partner. Now for that, what do you suggest? Whether CA Yug is required to take permission? Aditi, Pooja, whether CA Yug is required to take this permission? Yes, no? Yes, absolutely. Now here the clause 11 will trigger, regulation 190 will come into the picture, and appendix 9 special resolution point number 4, you need to take special permission. You need to take prior approval from the council. Now, how will you write the answer? We know the answer, correct? How will you write the answer over here? So anyone, how will you write the answer? Basically, when you need to write the answer, remember what you need to do is first start with the provision. First, always start with the provision. Specify the provision of that particular clause. Okay. So here I will provide the provision which is there. Clause 11 of Part 1 of the first schedule to the CA Act 1949 with the year. Debars a charter accountant in practice. And one more thing I would like to highlight over here is a lot of students, they write CA in practice. Okay. Keep a habit of writing chartered accountant in practice. Okay. Debars a chartered accountant in practice from engaging in any business or occupation other than the profession of a chartered accountancy unless permitted by the council of the institute to so engage. The provision. Now, again, the director part, which is coming from the clause itself. Okay. So over here, like there is no bar on promoter or signatory of the memorandum or articles of the association. Again, you can be a director simpliciter. Therefore, members are not required to obtain specific permission from the council in such cases. For director, you are not required to obtain permission. Now, further, you need to again provide for the rest of the part, like the next area which is there as a sleeping partner in a having interest in the family business. Over there, you need to explain about that. Okay, you need to provide analysis of that. Now, what is the analysis? That further members of the institute in practice may engage, okay, after obtaining prior approval in case of interest in family business, okay, or concerns, and in the management of which no active part is taken. So if you are not taking active part, if you have an interest in the family business or concern, okay, in which interest has been acquired as a result of relationship, take prior approval. Okay, this is the analysis. This is the part which is coming from clause 11. As a result, then you need to provide the conclusion. The last point, which is the conclusion of the particular topic. So the conclusion is that as a promoter director, not guilty, because that is permissible, that is perfectly fine. As a sleeping partner, guilty because he did not obtain prior approval of the council. This is your conclusion. Now, this is how you need to write the answer of a particular question. Okay. Usually, I call this as a PAC approach: provision, analysis, and the conclusion. You specify the provision, you do the analysis of the particular provision, and then you provide the conclusion, whatever conclusion it is there. Now, why we have written two different parts, like promoter director as a sleeping partner? Because in the question it is given for the two different statements. So if a question has a multiple limbs or multiple areas where you need to answer, specify the conclusion that area wise. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt, Aditi? Yes, Samanathan. Still, you need to take specific permission. These are the questions which are from the past papers, RTP, MTP. Once we will complete the lecture sessions, we will be uploading this on the portal. You will be able to see all the PDFs, notes, everything which is uploaded on the portal, on the BUS portal. So from there, you can access all these notes. Any doubt? Yes, we need to make sure that our wordings of the provision should not change. See, when you are quoting a law, your wordings should be as similar to the law which is there. I cannot change the wordings of the law. Okay. If you are quoting a law, you need to write as much as possible similar to the wordings of the law. Now, a lot of students will have a doubt that, sir, we do not remember what was the exact wordings. We cannot, remember in the exam because of XYZ reason. We don't have, we are not able to remember. In that case, explain that clause 11 says, like, first of all, quote the relevant clause which is there, relevant provision which is there. Then do not try to, write anything. What if you know the, like, detailed understanding of that particular provision, explain that. Whatever you understand, whatever you have understood from that provision, explain that. Okay. And on the basis of that, then you write the answer. So over there you can say that, like, this is the clause, this is which covers the provision of this. As per the clause specifies the following. You provide your own explanation. However, you should not deviate from the explanation which is there in the provision, and on the basis of that, then you carry out the entire answer. Clear? Your flow should not break. You should have an appropriate flow of the answer, so that the reader who is reading the answer can understand that this is the provision, this is what you want to convey about the provision, this is the analysis, and this is the conclusion. Okay. So that was a clause 11, very important clause, okay, which is about the professions or the business in which a chartered accountant in practice can engage. Now, let us see one more question. A very good question, I would say again. Now, instead of, I'm giving, instead of I'll, sharing the answer straightforward, I will ask you the answer. You need to specify, and then we will discuss the answer. So, CA Meet, a practicing chartered accountant, was on a foreign tour between 12/8/2024 to 27/8/24. On 28/24, a message was received from one of his clients requesting a stock certificate to be produced to bank on or before 22/8/2024. Due to urgency, CM Meet directed his assistant, who is also a chartered accountant, to sign and issue the stock certificate after the due verification on his behalf. You need to comment as per the CA Act. Now tell me, what do you think in this scenario? Sorry. Anyone? What do you think in this particular scenario? Okay, Mr. Palan. Okay. Okay, Akhtar. Good. Okay, Palan. Good. Okay, Samanathan. Anyone else? Okay, Pooja. Good. What clause you will write in the answer? Yes, Aditi. Very good. Which clause you will quote over here? Quickly. Yes, Prem Kumar. Great. So, most of you have given the correct answer. Very good. It shows that you are practicing and you are have good practice of the topic. That's really good. Okay. Now, when we talk about signing on behalf of a practicing charter accountant, okay, signing on behalf of a practicing charter accountant, that is covered under clause 12. Okay, clause 12 of part 1 of first schedule. What clause 12 part 1 of first schedule says? Let us see. Clause 12 allows a person, like what it says, that allows a person not being a member of the institute in practice or a member not being his partner to sign on his behalf or on behalf of his firm any balance sheet, profit and loss account, or report of financial statement. Okay. If I summarize, if I simplify this particular part, okay, if you allow anyone, so if you allow anyone to sign FS, okay, on firm's behalf, on CA slash firm's behalf, then you will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Now, there are exceptions to this clause. Who can sign, kind of. Exceptions are here any CA in practice. If you see the exception, who is permitted? Who is permitted? Like who is a member of the institute. Okay. If that person is a member of the institute, in practice, he can sign. Being a member of the institute in practice, he can sign. So I would say CA in practice, he can sign. Second, a member not being his partner. So member who is a partner, being his partner, he can sign. Member being his partner. So partner can sign, who is a member, okay, on his behalf or behalf of the firm, any balance sheet or P&L. That's an exception. So CA in practice or a partner who is a member can sign. Now, my one very important question to you. Do we need member, like who is a partner member to be in practice? Here in this particular clause, it is written that he has to be member being his partner. So if he is a member and a partner, he can sign. Now tell me one thing. If I have a partner who is a member but not in practice, can he sign? Simple question. Quickly. I want with reason why. I want with reason why you think he can or he cannot. Can a member who is a partner but not in practice can sign? Because here clause 12 only talks about member not being his partner. If I have a partner who is a member but not COP, but who is not practicing, can he sign? Okay, very good, Pal. Okay, very good, Akhtar. But where it is written? Anyone? Very good, Pooja. Very good, Aditi. But where it is written? Very good, Umang. Again, the question comes back to the area that where it is written that he can, like, only a member or a partner in, like, member in practice can sign. Anyone, quickly. Very good, Samanathan. So, see, first of all, yes, very good, Akhtar. Now, first of all, let's understand a simple thing over here. When I talk about member not being his partner or member being his partner, okay. First of all, tell me, like signing separately, keep it aside. As of now, signing, keep it aside. My simple question to you, can a member who is not in practice be a partner? Can a member who is not in practice, can be he a partner of a CA firm like who is in practice? Yes, no? Okay, for that, let's go somewhere and let's understand under clause 4, because this is very important. Now, who can sign or who can be a partner, that's very important. And that will come from the clause 4. That is a clause which talks about a partnership. Okay, very important. So what clause 4 says? Clause 4 says that if a CA in practice enters into a partnership in or outside India, with any person other than the CA in practice or such other person who is a member of other professional bodies having such qualifications as may be prescribed, including a resident, okay, or whose qualifications are recognized by the central government. Now, here, if you see, if you enter into a partnership with person other than the CA in practice, so the specific point over here is that with person other than CA in practice, that means you cannot enter into a partnership with a person who is a CA but not in practice. So this stops or bars, okay, partnership with member not in practice. Remember one thing, it is applicable to member in practice. So a member in practice cannot enter into a partnership with member not in practice. Okay. Now, one may ask that, okay, other professional bodies having such qualification or whose qualifications are recognized, over there you will find other professional bodies, company secretary, cost accountant, all those other bodies which are there. It's, like over there CA is not covered. So a member in practice or a CA in practice can only go with a partnership with other CA in practice. If he is not in practice, even though he is a member, you cannot be a partner. So let's go back to the clause 12 with the same understanding. Okay. And with this understanding, now we will be able to understand the clause 12 with much more clarity. Why? Because the term which was there, partner being member, when I talk about partner, I am saying by default, like who is a partner on sign his behalf, okay, who's a member and a partner. When I say partner and member, by default, he is in practice. So here, by default, he is in practice. Otherwise, what will happen is guilty of clause 4. Okay. Otherwise, guilty of clause 4. Okay. Now let's go back to the question. So we understood the gist of clause 12. Like you cannot allow anyone to sign except for CA in practice or who is a partner. Again, partner being a CA in practice. So now in this particular scenario, who is signing? CA meets the assistant, who is also a charter accountant. So CA meets assistant is a charter accountant. Can he sign? Can he sign or not? Quickly. Very good, Prem Kumar. Very good, Palan. Very good, Aditi. Very good, Samayanathan. Yes, absolutely correct. So what we are seeing here, very good, Umang. So here, just now we understood that to sign on behalf of any other charter accountant, you have to be either CA in practice or partner member. Now, when I say partner member, that is by default in practice. In this particular scenario, he is a charter accountant, but not in practice. Not in practice. So he has signed. As a result, guilty of professional misconduct. Yes or no? And the way you need to write the answer, PAC mode. Like first specify the clause as per the clause 12 of the part 1 of the first schedule to the CA Act 1949. A charter accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he allows a person not being a member of the institute or a member not being his partner to sign on behalf or his behalf or firm's behalf any financial statement like balance sheet, profit and loss account or anything. Here CA meet, allowed his assistant, who is a chartered accountant, but not practicing chartered accountant, who is not a partner. Okay, who is not a partner. As a result, CA Meet is guilty of professional misconduct. Another question you may ask that, sir, he allowed to sign stock certificate. Okay, allowed him to sign the stock certificate. But in our clause, it is written that any balance sheet, profit and loss account, report, or financial statement will stock certificate be part of this? How stock certificate will be part of this? Here, for a simple understanding, understand this part, any balance sheet, profit and loss account, report, or financial statement. This is from the assurance perspective or attestation function. Okay, this particular area is basically from the attestation function. So if you allow anyone to perform attestation function on your behalf, like not being a partner or a CA in practice, this clause is going to get attracted. Although the term balance sheet, profit and loss account, okay, report, or financial statement is mentioned, but when you sign on this, you provide a assurance, whether limited assurance, okay, reasonable assurance, you provide a kind of assurance. And that we are talking about over here, that this assurance, if you allow anyone to else to provide that kind of assurance, you will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Anyone? Or it's like something you would say that no, he cannot sign anything. Quickly, what is allowed then for the assistant to sign? Very good, Prem Kumar. Very good, Samanathan. Very good, Umang. Very good, Aditi. Yes. So basically, again, for the routine documents, he can sign. If there are routine or attestation is required, those are the areas where the assistant can sign. For example, on your page number of your study material, if you come on 19.84, okay, these are the routine matters where like this provision of this clause will not attract the assistant signs. Issue of audit queries during the course of audit, asking for information or issuance of questionnaire, letter forwarding, initiating and stamping of vouchers, acknowledging and carrying out routine correspondence, issuing of memorandum of cash verification or other physical verification, okay, recording the results thereof in the books of client, issuing acknowledgements for the record produced, raising of bills, attending routine tax matters, okay, any other matter incidental to the office administration and routine work. If these are the routine work, admin work, fine, the assistant can sign. But if it is an assurance function, if it is an authentication or some kind of opinion involved, he cannot sign. Now we have a question. Stock certificate also requires due diligence of the financial statement. Yes, it requires. Now, here the thing is, it doesn't matter who has performed the due diligence, because let's say, for example, if I hire if I do a partnership with a CA in practice, okay, for this particular assignment, he comes and performs a verification, but then assistant signs, still it will be a violation. So we are talking about signature. Okay, so let's say there is a CA in practice with whom I did a joint venture or a kind of a partnership for this particular assignment. He did the stock verification. He prepared entire report and everything after due diligence and verification of the financial statements, even physical verification. And then he handed it over to the assistant for signature. And assistant signed that. Even though the entire process is being, done by CA in practice, when assistant signs, still it's a violation. Clear? Any doubt till now? So how the violation is there under clause 12? Any question? You are not required to write clause 4 because that is for your understanding that how partnerships are there for a CA in practice. But when this kind of question comes, you need to quote clause 12. Okay. One very important question, like kind of, I would say, very good question it is. Hitesh, a charter accountant, applied for obtaining a certificate of practice. However, while filling out the application form, he intentionally did not fill the section requiring disclosure of any engagement in other occupations or businesses. Hitesh was actively involved in the business, making this non-disclosure occasional misconduct as per the provisions of CA Act. Quickly, what do you think? Which clause will be there? Come on, quickly. Guilty of professional misconduct under which clause? Very good, Prem Kumar. Anyone? Anyone? No? This is pretty easy. Trust me. Okay. Yes, Samanathan. Very good. So let's go and see the which clause will be applicable. Now we will go to the part 3. Part 1 is applicable to whom? Part 1 of first schedule is applicable to whom? Only CA in practice? Yes, very good. Part 3 is applicable to whom? Member of institute generally, whether in practice or not. That's why in our question, if you see, is it specified whether he is in practice or not? He is applied for, but as of now, he is not in practice. That's why he has applied for. So at least from that particular understanding, I can see that, okay, he's not in practice. So at least part 1 is not there. Either part 2 or part 3 or part 4 will be applicable. So I have narrowed down the application of the clause in this scenario without going to the any clause, without understanding anything. First of all, I narrowed down my application because he is applied for obtaining a certificate of practice. So as of now, he's not in practice. And as a result, part 1 will not be applicable, even in the first and second schedule. So we'll keep it aside. Now we need to scan from part 2, 3, and 4, if that is the first schedule, that which clause will be applicable. Okay. Again, there is no information about the service. He's applying for COP. So obviously service will not be there. So definitely part 3 or 4 of first schedule or part 3 of second and third of second schedule accordingly will be there. Now let's go to the part 3. Now what part 3 says? Part 3 talks about professional misconduct in relation to the member of institute generally. See, part 4 in first schedule is very easy to remember. It's very easy. There are 2 parts. It's another misconduct, part 4. Okay. Which is again applicable to institute, member of institute. Okay, generally, which talks about criminal code and offense less than where the punishable with imprisonment for term not exceeding 6 months. And if you bring disrepute, so 6 months imprisonment and disrepute. These are the 2 areas which are there in the part 4. Apart from there is nothing. So you need to, like, by deducting everything, every part. Okay, now I'm reached to part 3. So I know that something from the part 3 will be relevant for this particular question. This is the way you can, also come to a conclusion that, which clause will be applicable, because at times you might not remember the exact clause in the exam. So this is how you can, see, okay, this is applicable, this is not, remove this. So these are the options left. Okay. Now, part 3. Part 3 has 2 things. Clause number 1, Not being a fellow, act as a fellow. So if you are not a fellow chartered accountant, if you act as a fellow chartered accountant, then clause 1. Clause 2, that's a very important. Does not supply the information called for or does not comply with the requirement asked for by the institute, council, committees, directors, board of discipline, disciplinary committee, quality review board, or appellant authority. If you summarize this, so any you can say body of the institute, okay, whether it's the institute, council, committees, director discipline, board of discipline. So if you do not provide collectively to the institute, okay, so if you do not provide the institute information to the institute, do not provide information to institute, okay, in that case you will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Now remember one thing, this is has a one small part which is most of the time overlooked as in that does not comply with the requirements also. Sometimes a question may come that, okay, this was the requirement, this was asked to do for a to a member, but member did not perform that. Again, clause 2 can get triggered. So this is very area where one of small requirement is there, so you need to take care of that under the same clause, same umbrella. So if you do not provide the information or do not comply with the requirement which is asked by the institute, guilty of professional misconduct under clause 2 part 3 of the first schedule of the CA Act 1949. Okay, clear? In this our case, if you read, so he intentionally did not fill disclosures of any engagement in or other occupation of the businesses when he was filling out the form of certificate of practice. Now, this is withholding of crucial information that was explicitly sought. That means something is asked and you are not providing. So this is equivalent to not providing information to institute. And for this, clause 2 will get triggered. Clear? Any doubt? If I show you the answer, simple. Like you need to start clause 2, part 3 of the first schedule to the CA Act. Member shall be held guilty if the chartered accountant in practice or not. Again, in practice or not. Or you can write member of the institute generally. You can write both. You can write chartered accountant in practice or not because it's a member of institute in generally, does not supply information called for or does not comply with the requirement asked for by the institute. You need to then provide the analysis of the case, and then you need to provide the conclusion, guilty of professional misconduct. Now, I will change this question a bit. Instead of coming over here and saying that did not fill, I would say he wrote not applicable, or he wrote he intentionally specified none. He intentionally specified none or not applicable. Okay, so he intentionally specified not applicable or none. In that case, would your answer be a different answer? Anyone? If I change, instead of did not fill intentionally, he intentionally specified none or not applicable in that section requiring the disclosure of any engagement. Very good, Prem Kumar. Very good, Samanathan. Very good, Pal. Anyone? Will your answer be different in this scenario? Yes, no? Quickly. Just changing by a small sentence, or even not a sentence, 2, 3 words. Yes, absolutely. The answer will change entirely. And for that, we need to refer something else, some different clause. Now, till now, we were referring to clause 2 of part 3. Okay, where you do not provide the information. Clause 2 of part 3. Instead of now, we will go to the clause 3 of part 2 of second schedule. Clause 3 of part 2 of second schedule. Now, over there, we need to understand what is clause 3 of part 2 of second schedule. Again, part 2 of second schedule, it's a professional misconduct in relation to members of the institute generally. Clause 2, clause 3, if you include in any information, statement, written, form to be submitted to the institute, like all the institute's bodies and authorities, okay, committees, everything. If you include any information, statement, written, form, which is to be submitted to the institute, any particulars knowing them to be false. If you do not supply, you are talking about clause 2, part 3, first schedule. If you are supplying false information, we are talking about clause 3, part 2, second schedule. So, in our question, basically, if he specifies none, okay, not providing information was simple. That not providing information, clause 2, part 3, first schedule. But this is false information. In that case, again, this clause will get triggered, which is clause 3, part 2 of second schedule. Clause 3, part 2 of second schedule. See how it changed from first schedule to the second schedule just by changing a few words. As a result, you need to make sure you're reading the question entirely appropriately. Okay. If you are, if you miss even a small thing, your answer can change drastically. If I miss this particular part, like he intentionally specified none, I would say did not provide the information. He wrote none, did not provide the information, clause 2, part 3. But no, none is providing the information, but it is false. That's why you will change clause 3 to the part 2 of second schedule. Okay, so to summarize, no information and false information. Okay, no information and false information. Now see, again, like for your easy understanding, false information can be provided to, like if a chartered accountant provides false information to the institute, we know clause 3. Okay, but what if he provides false information to people outside, like not to the institute but someone else, or he provides false information to the inquiry, advertisements, write-ups, okay, or any other place. So you need to understand where the false information is coming from, or where the false information is being provided. So I will do 2 bifurcations over here: false information to the institute or others, and no information to institute. Okay, now no information to institute. Okay, in that case the relevant clause will be clause 2, part 3, first schedule. When I say false information to others, over there, it will be clause 3, part 3, okay, of first schedule. So, similarly, like where we saw this part does not supply the information, okay. And if you see part 3, that while inviting professional work from another charter accountant, or while responding to tenders or inquiries, or while advertising through a write up, anything provided in 6 and 7 gives information knowing to be false, okay. In that case, he will be guilty of professional misconduct. So if you provide false information in inquiries, tenders, advertisement to others, in that case, clause 3 will be there, okay. Otherwise, clause 2, if you provide no information, then clause 2. And if you provide false information to the institute, just now we saw clause 2, uh, basically, just a minute. Yeah. Clause 3, part 2, second schedule. Part 2, second schedule. Clear? A quick summary for you, like based on the information, whether it's a no information, false information, others, institute, accordingly, you have the clauses. Any doubt? Any doubt? Yes, no? Okay. If no further doubts, I have another good question to build up our understanding of one of the clause that we took in the start. So the question is, CA Kapila in practice is desirous of filing multi-purpose empanelment form, MEF form, okay, for the inclusion of her name in the panel for allotment of statutory audit of the bank branches, which are hosted by the Professional Development Committee of the ICAI, and that is for the financial year 23-24. The form requires applicants to upload XML files of their personal income tax returns along with the computation of the income during the relevant year for which the information is being sought by the Professional Development Committee, PDC. Okay. CA Kapila has transited in futures and options derivatives, equity derivatives, and has reflected income from such transactions in her return of income as a business income. Analyze the above situation with reference to the provisions of the CA Act 1949. We will go to the second part in some time, but based on this, analyze what do you think about this particular situation? Quickly. What do you think about this situation? Can CA Kapila enter into or perform this kind of thing? Transactions in derivative, equity derivatives. Yes or no? Equity derivatives. Anyone? Equity derivatives, quickly. Very good, Prem Kumar. Anyone? No? Okay. Samanathan? Anyone? No? Okay. See, I'll specify that here in this particular scenario, okay, ethical standard boards of ICAI has already announced that it is permissible for a member, okay, it is permissible for a member to engage into derivative transaction in his personal capacity. So you cannot enter into a professional capacity, but in personal capacity, it is perfectly fine. You can enter into the derivative transaction. Now, what is professional capacity, which is other than the personal capacity? So if you do it for your clients as an investment advisor or as an portfolio manager or as some other person, so if you do it for your client, okay, over there, it is not permissible. It is not permissible. But being in your personal capacity, it is perfectly fine. You can enter into derivative transactions. So for a member over here, entering into a equity derivative transactions is fine. That is not, that does not require any specific approval from the council. That does not require any specific approval from the council. As a result, here in this scenario, you can say that CA Kapila will not be guilty of professional misconduct. Now, coming to a question where we are talking about that, what if it is the second part of the question? What if it is commodity or currency derivatives? Anyone? Commodity or currency derivatives? Anyone? Again, as I said, okay, if she, therefore, if there is a currency derivative, it is fine. Currency derivatives are fine, but the commodity derivative, it is not. So as per the ethical standard board, basically, okay, it is not permissible for members in practice to transact in the commodity derivatives. So commodity derivatives, it's not allowed for a CA in practice, even in his personal capacity. Okay, even in his personal capacity. As a result, you need to understand that whether it's a commodity derivative, currency derivative, or equity derivative. If it is the commodity derivative, no, not allowed. If it is the currency derivative, if it is the equity derivative, that is fine. Okay, so in this particular scenario, what will be the case for the currency derivative and the equity derivative? Okay, options and futures, it is fine, not guilty. So equity, currency, permissible. Sorry. But commodity, not. So as a result, first, when you need to write the answer in this scenario, okay, what you need to do is you need to start with the clause 11, because this is something related to CA in practice being, getting engaged in the, different kind of business. Okay, so here first I will start with the provision of clause 11. Then over there I will specify what is the announcement by the Ethical Standard Board. What Ethical Standard Board permitted. Okay. So here, like Ethical Standard Board allowed members to transact in equity and currency derivatives in their personal capacity. Okay. In their personal capacity, but not in the professional capacity. Such engagement of derivatives are not violative of provisions of clause 11. Okay. And there is no requirement to take permission from the council. Then you need to specify point by point. So currency derivative, fine. But it's not permissible for the commodity derivative. In such a case, CA Kapila would be held guilty of professional misconduct if for engaging in any other engaging in business other than the profession of a CA. Okay. So you need to specify equity derivative, fine currency derivative, fine commodity derivative, not okay. As a result, she will be guilty of professional misconduct under clause 11 part 1. A specific nature of question, okay, specific nature based on the decisions of the Ethical Standard Board. Any doubt? Any doubt? Okay. Now, let's take one more question. Very important one. So, here again, we will first discuss the question and then you need to provide the answer. Mr. Jay is a practicing chartered accountant working as a proprietor of Messrs. Adya and Company. He went abroad for 4 months. He delegated the authority to Mr. Vijay, a chartered accountant, his employee, for taking care of routine matters of his office. During his absence, Mr. Vijay has conducted the undermentioned jobs in the name of Messrs. Adya and Company, asking for information or issuing questionnaires, initiating and stamping of vouchers and schedule prepared for the purpose of audit, acknowledging and carrying out routine correspondence with the client. Comment on the eligibility of Mr. Vijay for conducting such jobs in the name of Messrs. Adya and Company and the liability of Mr. Jay under the CA Act. Pretty simple. We have already discussed this in detail. You just need to tell me what will be the liability of Mr. Jay in this scenario. Quickly. What will be the liability of Mr. Jay in this particular scenario? Pretty easy. We have already discussed. Very good, Samanathan. Very good, Prem Kumar. Umang, I'll take your question in a while. So just after this question, I'll take your question. Don't worry on that. Yes. Very good. Okay. So, as correctly provided by you guys, everything is allowed. It's a routine admin matters that we have discussed till now under clause 12. Okay. These are the routine matters which are allowed under the clause 12, and this is not any assurance function. Few students might get confused for the part this one. Initiating and stamping of vouchers and of schedules prepared for the purpose of audit. Initiating and stamping of vouchers and of schedules prepared for the purpose of audit. Now, some students might get confused. Is it something schedules of the financial statement? Understand, those are notes to financial statement. Okay, generally we call notes to financial statements. Various notes are there. Okay, now when it is referred schedule for the purpose of audit, these could be audit working papers. Not the schedules to the financial statements. Usually notes to the financial statements are different. It is not stamping and initiating the notes to financial statement. Here schedules prepared for the purpose of audit. So do not get confused with that. Some students have raised that query in past also, but again, this is something different, and these all are routine matters. As a result, permitted. So there is nothing which is not permitted. Clear? Any doubt? And answer on a similar line, you specify the clause, part, first schedule, CA Act, then specify the provision over here. Like what is the provision? Then you specify the analysis of that particular part or the question which is given. And then there is no misconduct in this case as per the clause 12, part 1 of first schedule of the Act. Your conclusion. Clear? Any doubt till now? Any doubt? No? Okay. If no doubts, then let's take a 5-minute break, 5 to 10 minute break. After the break, we'll gather back and continue the session. Thank you. Yes, Umang, to your question. This is as per the Ethical Standard Board's decision. Now, the question is it covered in the study material? See, if there is an amendment or there is any specific Ethical Standard Board decision that will be applicable, and those are provided on the, ICAI's website, on this Ethical Standard Board's website. So you are expected to, have a understanding of those decisions where they are specifically covered. Okay, so that is where you can, search. You can go on the Ethical Standard Board's website and you can identify that particular part, uh, basically about the decisions of the Ethical Standard Board. Or else, if you see, just I'll show you in the study material also. Just give me a minute. One particular area. So, yeah, basically, in the study material itself, okay, like uh, the the clauses and the schedules are given in the annexure. Okay, all the relevant information is given in the annexure. So over there in the annexure also, like basically all the act and everything for your reference is given, and the additional detail are given in the like in the website of Ethical Standard Board. So from there you can also, go and refer that particular part. Okay. Any any other questions? Any other questions? Okay. No. Let's proceed forward then, and we will discuss one important question again. Very good question that we need to discuss. Now, this is a very important part of the first schedule that we are going to discuss. Very important part. Okay, and we need to. This is also linked to another one important clause of the first schedule. So this is very one of the important clause of first schedule. You can say, Mr. Ajit, a practicing chartered accountant. Okay, Mr. Ajit, a practicing chartered accountant, started a coaching institute for CA aspirants in Delhi. He displayed large hoardings across the city stating, coaching by CA Ajit, also undertaking audit, tax audit, attestation assignments, contact for professional services. He also circulated pamphlets in the nearby commercial areas, inviting businesses to appoint him as a statutory auditor. Further, CA Ajit responded to a tender floated by a listed company for statutory audit work. The tender document did not prescribe any minimum fee. Furthermore, the audit and attestation services were exclusively reserved for chartered accountants. Examine whether CA Ajit is guilty of professional misconduct under the Chartered Accountants Act and give reasons. So you tell me, do you think CA Ajit is guilty of professional misconduct under the Chartered Accountants Act? If yes, then why? You need to specifically provide why. Okay, very good, Samayanath. Anyone else? Anyone? Why he would be guilty? On what ground? What clause you will invoke? Under which clause he will be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct? Okay, Umang, very good. Anyone? Okay. Let's understand. So most of you have answered clause 7, okay, part 1 of the first schedule. Okay. Uh, Again, now, first let's understand what is clause 6 and what is clause 7. And accordingly, we will decide whether it's a clause 6 or clause 7. Because at a lot of times, clause 6 and 7, there is a confusion. A lot of people have a confusion whether we should go for a 6, we should go for a 7. So let's talk about 6. Clause 6. What it says that if a chartered accountant practice solicits clients or professional work, either directly or indirectly by circular, advertisement, professional communication, or interview, or by other means, then he will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Now, the critical point here is professional work. I'm soliciting the client and the professional work. If you go to clause 7, as of now, we will have a reading of clause 6 and clause 7 to make you understand. Okay, clause 7, what it says, if you advertise professional attainments or services, use any designation, expression other than the chartered accountant, okay, on professional documents, visiting cards, letterhead, signboard, unless it's a degree of university established by law or recognized by the central government, or a title indicating membership of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India or any other institute that has been recognized by the central government. In that case, you will be held guilty of professional misconduct. So few things are allowed, except for that, if you advertise your professional attainments, services, use any designation, expression other than the CA on visiting card, documents, or letterhead, in that case, you will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Now, in this particular clause, it is allowed that you may advertise through write-ups, setting out services provided by him, okay, subject to guidelines. So, advertisement subject to guidelines is part of clause 7. Okay, it's part of clause 7. Now, what we are doing in clause 7 is clause 7 talks about advertising but professional attainments or services or using designations on professional documents, visiting cards, letterheads, signboards, anywhere. Am I concerned with the soliciting the client? No. I'm concerned more with my professional attainment, my designations, my services, rather than soliciting the clients. Am I saying make me your statutory auditor? No. I'm saying I'm best CA. If I say I am best CA, clause 7. If I say make me your statutory auditor, clause 6. Simple. Understand that. So, in simple terms, if I say best CA in city, that will attract here. Okay. But if I say solicit the client either directly, indirectly by circular, that means make me your statutory auditor, then this clause will get attracted. Okay, so there is a difference between 6 and 7. 6 focuses on soliciting the client and professional work, either directly or indirectly, circular, advertisement, personal communications, or any other means. But the focus is on the soliciting the clients and professional work. Whereas on the 7, the focus is on the professional attainments and the designations. Okay. Now, here in our case, what is happening? Mr. Ajit, a practicing chartered accountant, started a coaching institute for CA aspirants in Delhi. He displays large hoardings across the city stating coaching by CA Ajit. Now, this is very important. Also undertaking audit, tax audit, attestation assignment, contact for professional service. Contact for professional service. Circulated pamphlets in commercial areas inviting business to appoint him statutory auditor. So kind of make me your statutory auditor. If that is a scenario, in that case, clause 6. If here he would have, used the designations, professional attainments, or something like that, clause 7. Okay. But here what he's saying is appoint him as a statutory auditor. Then clause 6 will be applicable. Second, there is something with respect to the tender document. We will understand in a while. But let's go to the clause 6 first. Okay. Now here soliciting the client's professional works directly through advertisement, directly or indirectly through advertisement, personal communication, interview, or any other means, gone. Guilty of professional misconduct. There are few things which are allowed, okay, which are not counted, okay, as in you can say that it is not soliciting the clients, but those advertisements are perfectly fine. So advertisement and note in the press, okay, if you do this advertisement or note in the press, okay, like for the change in the partnerships, dissolution firm, or change in the address of practice or telephone numbers where you are restricting to the facts, perfectly fine. That is permissible. This is permissible. Remember one thing, in case of advertisement, generally it is not permissible. So members should not advertise for soliciting work. That's the general rule. But there could be exceptions. And you need to remember the exceptions rather than the general rule, because general rule is you are not allowed to advertise for soliciting the work. Okay. But you are allowed in a few exceptions. Like if you want to advertise for the change in partnership, over there, the objective is not soliciting the work, perfectly fine. Okay. Classified advertisement in general of the institute or giving information for sharing professional work in the journal of institute, perfectly fine. Then application for empanelment of allotment of audit, if there is an empanelment which is open, if you apply for that, that is fine. However, roving inquiries, like if you are not aware about any such empanelment, okay, where it is not specific, you are generally making inquiries, like, I'm not aware about the empanelment, I'm generally making the inquiries, not permitted. Responding to tenders, I'll take in a while. Okay. Publication, books, articles, and presentations. Now here, wherever you publish a book, article, or presentation, over there, general thing is that a member is not allowed to mention any professional attainments, okay, in that particular article, journal, publication, or whatever it is. However, he can only mention what is permissible is designation charter accountant. Greeting card invitation. Again, greeting card invitation. Now, you can use the term designation charter accountant, okay, in the greeting card for marriages, for religious ceremonies, and invitation for opening and inauguration of office of members. Okay, like if there is an opening of members, or if there is any opening, if there is a change in office premises, over there you are sending to clients, relatives, okay, friends of the members, fine. You can mention designation charter accountant. You cannot say that in that greeting card, best CEO or something like that, and you cannot specify or send to prospective clients, I'll send an invitation to entire city that I'm opening new office. No, that is not permissible. Again, advertisement for silver, golden, platinum, and sanitary celebrations. Yes, it can be published, but you have to be, you have to stick to the facts. Sponsoring activity. Again, if you want to sponsor, you can only sponsor events which are conducted by the ICAI, not apart from that. Advertisement of teaching and coaching, the point which we are covering, okay, in our question. So if members are engaged in teaching and coaching activity, because you need to take permission under regulation 190 for that. In that particular case, you need to consider whether you have obtained the permission, whether you are required the permission or not. Let's say if you have complied with that regulation 190A, which is discussed in the clause 11, and after that, if you do the advertisement of coaching activities, in that case, you need to make sure, first of all, general rule, members are not allowed. Members are advised to abstain from advertising their associations with the coaching, like boarding banners or anything, because it will tantamount that you are indirectly soliciting the clients. Okay, that will be indirect solicitations of the client, and again, clause sale will get attracted. But what is allowed is you can put out a coaching board or a board of your institute outside the premises. Okay, over there you can mention the name of institute, contact details. Okay, so board is allowed. Apart from the board, nothing is allowed. Okay, that's a very important part that we need to understand. In our question, what is happening? He displayed large hoardings across the city stating coaching by this and all the services. Now, if you see what is allowed with respect to the boards and advertisements, like in case of the hoardings, banners, and posters outside the premises, not anywhere else, only outside the premise. So if it is outside the premise, that is fine. Outside their coaching teaching premises, a signboard mentioning the name, contact details, subject taught, that is fine. Okay. However, it is not saying that you can have a big banners across the city. Similarly, in this scenario, large displayed hoarding across the city, clause 6 by default. Coaching by CA Ajit and then services, again not complied. Circulated pamphlets, commercial areas, again you are soliciting the client by circulating pamphlets. Okay, so these 2 points are already where you have a guilty for professional misconduct. Okay, under clause 6. Now, after you are allowed to use visiting cards, but visiting cards, there are things that you need to specify in the visiting card. For example, you cannot mention any other designation other than the charter accountant if you are using that designations. And the way it has to be, like what you are writing, it should not tantamount to soliciting the clients or advertising your professional attainments. Okay, so if you're trying to do the advertisement of the professional attainments through visiting cards, not permissible. I cannot write like best CA in the city on my visiting card. No, I cannot write that undertaken the multiple deals of or advisory clients, or advisor to big companies in my visiting card. No, that is something you are demonstrating your professional attainments. Professional attainment means whatever you have attained, whatever you achieved in the professional career, like advising big clients, turnovers, you have a good amount of revenue, or kind of similar things where you are demonstrating that you are better than others. That kind of comparison is not permissible. Okay, now coming to the next part, which is uh, tender document. Now, Ajit applied to the tender of a listed company of the statutory audit work where no minimum fees was prescribed, but this was only reserved for charter accountant. Now tell me, what are the requirements with the tender document? Anyone? Tender document, quickly. What are the requirements for the tender document? It should be open for all, including CA. Okay. What else? Anyone? Minimum fee. Okay. Minimum fee should be there. So here minimum fee is not there. Will he be guilty of professional misconduct for this? Minimum fee is not present. Yes, no. Will he be guilty of professional misconduct for the tender document? Yes or no? Quickly. Okay. Very good, Umang. Yes. Now let's understand the requirement of tender. Okay. What is the requirement of tender? Replying to the tender. Now, basically, for the purpose of tender, there are two things that we need to understand. Okay. For the purpose of tender, there are two things that we need to understand, and accordingly, okay, we will apply the concept. So, a member, okay, from responding to, like, there is nothing prohibiting a member from responding to the tenders or inquiry issued by various users of professional service or organizations from time to time securing professional works. However, member in practice, like a member of institute in practice, shall not respond to any tender issued by an organization or a user of professional service in such area which are exclusively reserved for the charter accountant. So first of all, you should not. So if it is exclusively reserved for the charter accountant, you should not respond. If you still want to respond, means if you still want to respond, in that case, restriction shall not apply. Means something which is permissible. Restriction shall not be applicable where, okay, this is kind of permissible in tender. Minimum fee of the assignment is prescribed, or where the areas are open to other professionals along with charter accountant. So there is between or very important part which is there. This or, okay. So general rule, if I talk about, for the tenders, exclusive for CA, prohibited. Okay. But if minimum fee prescribed, or if open for other professionals, if these are the cases, that's why I said or, if any of the condition is being satisfied, in that case you can say permitted. So usually exclusive for CA is not permitted. Then you need to check these two conditions. The general rule says if it is exclusive for CA, not permitted, general rule. But specific conditions, if minimum fee prescribed, yes, you can go ahead. If it is open for all other professionals, you can go ahead. Now in our question, what it says, CA Ajit responded to a tender floated by the listed company for the statutory audit work. Okay. Now, this is exclusively reserved for the CA. Exclusively reserved for CA. That means the general rule is not permitted. Now, there are two conditions. If those two conditions are satisfied, like any one of the two conditions get satisfied or exceptions get satisfied, I can go ahead and apply. What was the first condition? Minimum fee. But here did not prescribe minimum fee. Number two, it is for the statutory audit work. and it is furthermore audit and attestation services reserved exclusively for chartered accountants. That means not open for other professionals. Not open for other professionals, because it is exclusively reserved for the chartered accountants. In that case, it is not permitted. You are not falling in the exception also. So Ajit responded to the tender. Okay, CA Ajit responded to the tender. As a result, what will be the scenario? Guilty of professional misconduct. Clear? So now here, if you want to write the answer, how will you write? Simple. You will start with the clause 6, part 1, first schedule, CA Act prohibits a chartered accountant in practice from soliciting clients, okay, directly, indirectly. In the present case, you will specify the holdings, what he has done. That is not permissible. You will do analysis, okay. And what is allowed under as per the clause is may display a signboard outside the coaching premises. But here it is not outside, it's in the entire city. Then with tender, again, you specify the clause, you specify the guidelines which are there, okay. And then you do the analysis. After specifying the provision, you do the analysis, and then you give the conclusion. So, guilty of professional misconduct. Clear? Any doubt? I hope you guys are clear. Like, in which scenario I need to apply clause 6 and in which scenario I need to apply clause 7. That is the distinguishing factor that you need to understand. Like, which is the clause 6 area, which is the clause 7 area. Any doubt? I have another good question on the similar clause. We will understand that. Okay, we will take up that question also. Uh, but before that, any doubt? Okay, let's take up a question on again similar clause so that we can build up and we can fortify our understanding of this particular clause. Puran, a practicing charter accountant, uploaded educational videos on the accounting and auditing topics on YouTube for the benefit of students and young professionals. In these videos, he has introduced himself as a partner in Puran and Associates, charter accountants, and displayed his firm's website address and his contact details in the description of the videos. Comment with reference to the provisions of the CA Act and schedules thereto. Okay, now you have to comment on this. Yes. Anyone? What do you think? Which clause will be applicable over here? Quickly. Again, clause 6. Okay. Anyone else? Why clause 6? Okay, someone is saying clause 7. Akhtar is saying clause 7. Okay, Akhtar. Yes. Why clause 7? Why clause 6 or clause 7? Anyone? Tantamounts to advertisement. Okay, good. What else? Yes, it is related to advertisement, but which clause will be there then? Because that's the very important part we need to understand, whether it's a clause 6 or clause 7. Advertisement is covered in both. Is it covered in clause 6 also, clause 7 also? But which clause will be applicable, that's very important to understand. Soliciting the works. Okay. Yes, absolutely correct. Soliciting the work. Now, again, the difference, remember we discussed the difference. Like, what is the difference in applicable or application of the clause 6 and clause 7? Clause 6 basically is on the soliciting the work. If I'm soliciting the work through any means, clause 6 will be applicable. Now, what is happening over here is I am giving the details of my firm. I am giving the details of my firm. I am giving the details of contact details about my firm. Now, what is permissible with respect to educational videos? Let's understand the clause 6. Here, if in this video, if in this, videos which are being published, if I do comparison, if I do my professional attainments, I can go to the clause 7. But here I'm not talking about professional attainments. Here I'm talking about videos. Okay, I'm uploading some videos and I'm providing a way to contact my firm. So you can say there is an indirect solicitation, because if anyone who watches the video knows that whom to reach out. Now this firm is uploading the content of this particular kind of area, means we need to reach out to them. So what guideline says, basically we need to understand. So while education videos of educational nature may be uploaded on the internet, that is allowed, okay, by member, but you should not make a reference, okay, of the CA firm where the member is a partner or proprietor, and it should not contain any contact details or website address. Now this is simply, if you do that, you are trying to, this will become indirect solicitation. Okay, that means that by showing the educational videos and specifying where you work and what is the firm's detail and where the firm, like how to reach out to the firm, you are trying to capture the viewer's attention towards your firm. So let's say if the viewer later on, what if the viewer is a prospective client, that means you are trying to solicit the work from that particular viewer. That's why, that's the main objective over here. And that's why here in this particular scenario, what is happening is that Puran specified in the video that he's a partner in Puran and Associates. He displays firm's website, address, and his contact detail in the description of the videos. So this will tantamount to indirect solicitation. As a result, here clause 6 will get attracted. Okay, clause 6 will get attracted. Clause 6 part 1. And simply, like, if you want to write the answer for this particular part, just give me a minute. Simple, that you specify what is clause 6 part 1, okay, of the CA Act. Like, if you directly or indirectly through circular, advertisement, personal communication, interview, or by any other means, okay, if you try to solicit the client or professional work, okay, you will be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct. Now here, educational videos, the council has clarified this, so this will be part of the provision. Then in that case, you need to do the analysis of the scenario, that what Puran has done, and then in that case, thus Puran would be held guilty of the professional misconduct under clause 6 of the part 1 of our schedule. The conclusion, pretty much straightforward. Clear? Any doubt to this? Any doubt? No? Now, in connection to the same question, in connection to the same area, okay, we'll take one more question where we will discuss in detail a particular area, like, like we will fortify our understanding on the similar concept. Now, I think after this, you will understand what is the difference between 6 and 7. So, CA Vinith, a practicing charter accountant, after attending various courses in data analytics and artificial intelligence, designate as a AI professional in his visiting card and letterheads. He wants to advertise through a write up, setting out a professional service provided by him, and consequently, he has included the basic details such as name, membership number, professional address, website, email, details of employees, and various service provided. In the profile section of write up, he includes the following details: disclosure of a client MNP Limited's turnover figure from the recent audit as a 500 crore audited, to showcase the expertise in the large scale statutory audits, a mention of the Outstanding Accountant of the Year award received from the local Rotary Club in the previous year, the firm's tagline, precision in every calculation with a CA Vinith believes in an honest description of his work. Analyze and comment whether the act of CA Vinith is in compliance with the guidelines and provisions of the CA. Now tell me, which clause will be applicable over here? Which clause will be applicable? And why? Which clause will be applicable and why? Someone is saying clause 1, part 1 of second schedule, breach of confidentiality. Okay. Very good, Akhtar. See, now again, I would not say breach of confidentiality because it's a limited company, MNP Limited. And the financial statements are already in public domain. Who has audited, that is also in public domain. Okay. So if I provide a data which is already in the public domain, that will not be a breach of confidentiality. So if you're talking about that 500 crores audited turnover figures from the recent audit, not breach of confidentiality. Anyone else with a different answer? So basically, the classic example, as I said, I'm the best CA. Okay, the best CA in the city. If you do that, clause 7, because here what you are saying is, you are specifying, about your professional attainments. These are professional attainments, yes or no? Outstanding accountant of the year, precision in every calculation. Okay, turnover, by showing the turnover of a company, what you are trying to do, you are trying to depict your professional attainment, that okay, this is, you have achieved something. Secondly, using any other designation. So as per the guidelines and as per the provisions of the act, a charter accountant in practice, okay, cannot use any other designation like income tax consultant, cost accountant, company secretary, cost consultant, and management consultant. He's not allowed to use those things. Okay. He is not allowed to use any other designation with the designation of charter accountant. Now, a question here comes with a lot of students ask me a question what is a designation, what is prefix, suffix, and like mentioning a CA as a prefix, or what is the designation like chartered accountant where we mention it. See, I will draw your attention to a one particular section of the CA Act. Okay, very good question, very good section, again linked with this particular topic itself. So if you see section 7 of the CA Act, okay, which says that member of institute are permitted to use the word CA as a prefix. Okay, irrespective of the fact they are in the practice or not. Okay, so if someone is not in practice, still he can use the prefix CA. Under section 7, member in practice cannot use any other designation other than the charter accountant. Okay, now what is a designation? Designation kind of, after the name you specify. Let's say CA Harshad Tekwani, AI professional and charter accountant, or CA Harshad Tekwani, charter accountant and company secretary. Like, I do not do that, but just for your example, that if I use any other designation along with the charter accountant in my name, that is not permissible. But can I use the prefix CA? Yes, you can use the prefix CA irrespective of being in practice or not. So that is a prefix. Again, in front of my name, if there is a CA, okay, that's a prefix that you attach before the name. Designation is something you designate yourself after the name in your visiting cards or letterheads. Okay. And there is something called qualifications, or you can say membership to the institutes. Those are suffix. Those are also fine. Sometimes you have seen in the brackets, like, LLB, MCOM in brackets, okay, after the name. So that is something, other letters or description, basically, where you are a member of an institute of accountancy, or you have a kind of, qualification, okay, kind of, which is permissible. You can use what is permissible, but you cannot use a designation or some other prefix along with the CA or designation of a charter accountant. Okay, so for example, a member cannot designate himself cost accountant along with a charter accountant, but you can use the letters ACMA or FCMA after his name, because this is the membership. As I said, membership, or showing the qualification after the letter is fine, but using a designation of a cost accountant or a company secretary along with a charter accountant is not permissible. Okay, again, like, there are some institute members can mention the membership of those foreign institute with whom the institute has a memorandum of understanding or MRA. If the ICAI has a MRA or MOU with that institute, then fine, you can use that membership, again membership, which is suffix after the name, not as a designation. Okay, so that is something which is permissible and not permissible. In our question, what is happening is, here he has used used a designation as an AI professional along with the chartered accountant. As a result, that is not allowed. So you have attended, like here CA Vinith has attended data analytics and artificial intelligence courses, and he himself designate as a IA professional along with the chartered accountant. Like, if I show you in the card, like simple example, let's say there is a visiting card. Okay, now in that visiting card, let's say his name is there, CA Vinith. Sometimes, people mention like chartered accountant along with basically, other designations and AI professional. So this is what I'm talking about as a designation. This is prefix. And sometimes you have seen like this in bracket ACMA, FCA, or etc., whatever it is there. Now, this part is the membership and qualifications, which is permissible. Now, what is permissible? CA with the membership, fine. But if you add more prefix, not fine. Okay. So CA in practice cannot add more prefix like CA, CFE, or like whatever it is. Okay. Now, again, membership, fine. That is allowed. You can mention whatever is the memberships you have of the institutes that you can mention. Designations other than chartered accountant, not allowed. Okay. So you can use only one designations, one prefix. Memberships can be multiple. Simple. Now, in this scenario, let's go to the answer. As per the clause 7, part 1 of the first schedule to the CA Act 1949, a chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he advertises his professional attainments or services or uses any designation or expression other than chartered accountant on professional documents, visiting cards, letterheads, signboards, again designation, okay, except as permitted under the act and the guidelines issued by the council. However, okay, it is permitted to advertise through write-up setting out services provided by him and particulars of the members or firm subject to the guidelines which is being given by the ICAI. So there is an advertisement guidelines of 2008. If you do that by complying with those guidelines, that is fine. Okay. But if there is something which is not mentioned in the guideline, if you mention that in your write-up, that will not be fine. For example, here he has included website, email, employee details, service provided. Such particulars like the employee website, professional address are permitted in the guidelines. Okay. So he can mention those things in the guide as per the guidelines in the write-up. Okay. So that is fine. If you see in the question itself, there was one area with respect to the write-up. Okay. He wants to advertise through a write-up setting about a professional service provided by him. Consequently, he has included these details. So if he is providing these details in the write-up, fine, because that is permissible under the guidelines itself. However, disclosure of MNP's turnover figure of 500 crore is not permissible. Okay. Moreover, if you disclose that particular part without the consent, it could trigger what you can say confidentiality. Now, again, if you disclose some other figures which is there as per the which is not there as per the public data, okay, which is not available in the public domain, again the confidentiality can trigger. Okay, so that may amount to professional misconduct under clause 1 part 1 of second schedule. Because if it is a confidentiality data and it was not available in the public domain, if something is available in the public domain, or if some information which is obtained during the course of professional engagement which is not available in the public domain, in that case it may amount to professional misconduct. But if something is in the public domain, let's say annual reports already gone, now there are two things when you are disclosing this. If you disclose before the disclosure of the company, that is a breach of confidentiality. And that is not only breach of confidentiality, that is disclosure of one important part which is there. Unpublished price sensitive information under the SEBI regulations. Okay. So if you provide any information which is unpublished, which is price sensitive for a listed company, before the company discloses in their quarterly results or annual results, it is the disclosure of unpublished price sensitive information. And in that case, you will not only be liable for the clause 1 part 1, you will also be liable for the liable under the SEBI regulations. So when you are disclosing that information, what kind of information it is, a lot of that depends on that. Okay. And it may tantamount to breach of confidentiality also. Again, outstanding accountant of the year award in the write-up is also not permissible. That is prohibited by the write-up guidelines. So you cannot specify that. Okay. Now, if there is an award given by the government, state government, regulatory bodies, central government, state government, that is permissible in the advertisement guidelines. But if there's an award by a local Rotary Club, which is a private body or Section 8 company or a trust or organization, which is not a central government, state government, or a regulatory body, not permissible. So what is permissible? Right, awards given by central, state, or regulatory bodies. That is permissible. Otherwise, not. Okay. And if you include that, held guilty of professional misconduct because it is violative of the guidelines. Now, coming to the next part. This is precision in every calculation. You are using monograms, catchy words, or similar promotion expressions like taglines. It's a promotional catchphrase. Okay, like precision in every calculation. You are a CA in practice. A CA firm is not allowed to use monograms, catchword, or something like that, and it violates again understanding of the advertisement guidelines also. Any question on this? Any question? Yes, no? Okay, great. If no questions, then let's proceed further. There are a few questions that I want to take up, okay, for today. Uh, Again, a good question, I would say, because it will help us to understand a good concept. Sorry. So, Aditya and Company, a firm of chartered accountants in practice, has been approached by Skill Development Council of Government of India to conduct an assessment and performance audit of its various training centers across the country. Scope of the work of the same includes reviewing the efficiency of operations, utilization of funds, quality of training imparted, and suggestion measures for the improvement. In this context, the partners of the firm are concerned about permissibility of accepting such engagement. Would accepting this assignment to a service prohibited for members in the practice under CA Act? Read the question for a minute and then tell me the answer. Take a minute, read the question, and then tell me, what do you think of this? So what do you think? Whether this service is permissible or not? Yes or no? Whether this service is permissible? Yes, no? There is a, I would say there is a specific, I can provide you a shortcut answer for this question, but that is not applicable in all the cases. But yeah. Now, in this particular scenario, there is a chapter on this topic also. There is a chapter in your subject on this particular topic. Which is the chapter? Anyone? There is some chapter over here. Who can tell me which chapter is it is? No? Because if you understand that, like, it's a direct answer. But again, I will also show you from where provision, which provision is coming into the picture. But again, quickly, which chapter is there on this topic? You should have gone through those chapters. Like, you should have gone through the study material at least. Like, what are the topics available, and what are the chapters there? No? Okay. So, can anyone tell me chapter 15? Which is chapter 15? What is chapter 15 in your study material? Chapter 15 in your study material. Overview of audit of public sector undertakings. When you will do a revision of that chapter, you will come across something similar, that there is an efficiency audit of the plans, programs, or the government organizations, okay, or the public sector undertaking. You will see the definition of public sector undertaking. There are efficiency audits. There are different type of audits under the, in that chapter, which are discussed, which are undertaken by even chartered accountants. Okay, so that is, if you have gone through that chapter, you will, you can correlate. This is something similar we have already seen. But to provide you an appropriate answer, we will go, like, if you have to write the answer, you cannot write in exam, okay, because there is a chapter. What you will write, how you will write the answer to this particular question? Is it permissible? But how? What you will quote in your answer? Which provision? Anyone? Which provision you will quote? Which section you will quote that it is permissible or not? Because that's where you will learn how to write an answer. A question can come on anything which is given, which you have understood till now. Very good, Umang. Yes. So let's go to the study material and one specific topic that I want to discuss. That is on the page number 19.27 of your study material. 19.27. Definition of member deemed to be in practice. Okay. Now, section 2.2 of the Chartered Accountants Act determine what is deemed to be in practice. A member is deemed to be practice if he engages himself in the practice of accountancy, offers to perform the service of auditing, verification, renders professional service, okay, and renders such other services in the opinion of the council are or may be rendered by a chartered accountant in practice. Okay, so there are four things given under 2.2. But this one, 2.2.4, renders such other services in the opinion of the council or are maybe rendered by a chartered accountant in practice. Okay, here council has passed a resolution and provided a list of management, consultancy, and other services, which if you provide, okay, you will be counted as deemed to be in practice. So this is nothing but as this is the management, consultancy, and other services. Okay, if you provide these consultancy and other services, then it will be perfectly fine. And there's a list given. There's a list given of these consultancy and other services. Okay, for example, just let me show you, like financial management, capital structure, working capital, preparing project report, okay, preparing cash budget, budgeting, inventory management, market research, price fixation, management accounting system, cost controls, cost control methodologies, personnel recruitment, setting up executive incentive plans, management, operational audits, valuation of shares, business policy, and other areas, organizational structure and behavioral, all those things, system analysis, IT related, acting as an advisor to the consultant, which includes drafting, preparation, which is a list given. Okay, investment counseling, then acting as a registrar, quality audit, environmental audit, energy audit. Okay, and then other things are given. Now here, quality audit, environmental audit, energy audit, or if you go back above, okay, we have seen management and operational audits. Okay, and again, if you see, uh, this particular services are the management and consultancy services which are notified, where a chartered accountant can provide and he will be deemed to be in practice. That means you are not going outside the profession of a CA. You are still providing this service and you are still being called as a deemed to be in practice. So no clause 11 will be triggered. That's the purpose of management consultancy service. That when you provide a management consultancy service, you are called deemed to be in practice. That means you are not engaging in any other profession or in any other business for which you need to go to clause 11 or regulation 190A. In this scenario, what is happening is basically, here the funds, utilization of funds, efficiency of operations, quality of training imparted, suggesting measures for the improvements. Okay, here you are giving this, you are doing this analysis, you are performing the performance audit of the Center of Skill of Development Council. This is a performance audit, and this can be counted as a part of your management consultancy service. As we have seen, management, operational, quality, all those things. Here, what you are doing is efficiency of operations, utilization of funds, quality of training imparted, suggesting measures for improvement. Okay, this is an assessment and performance audit. It is written, it is performance audit, and it will deem to be a part of your management consultancy service. As a result, there is no violation or no prohibition for members in providing this kind of service. So Aditya and company can accept the offer given by the Skill Development Council of Government of India to conduct the assessment of and performance audit of its various training centers across the country. Okay, if I go to the answer, it is permissible for members in practice to engage in the services of assessment and performance audit. Okay, and these are permissible under the management consultancy and other services issued under section 224 of the Chartered Accountants Act. Just now we saw that, and accordingly, it can be concluded that the Aditya and company can accept the offer given by the Skill Development Council of the Government of India to conduct the assessment and performance audit. Clear? Pretty straightforward. But here, the purpose of this management consultancy service and these services is you are still deemed to be in practice. No clause 11 will get triggered. Any doubt on this part? Very good question, which clarifies the management consultancy service area. Any doubt? Yes, no? Okay. If no doubt, let me take up one more important good question, and again, a very important clause. Very important clause. Okay. KB and Associates are appointed as a statutory auditor of the Iron Company Limited. The central government holds 72% of the paid up share capital in this company. The appointment letter of the company gave a very limited time to KB and Associate for accepting the audit. CA Yash, the engagement partner, communicated with the previous auditor, but due to lack of time, he had to give acceptance for the audit assignment before receiving a reply from the previous auditor. Hence, CA Yash gave a conditional acceptance of the appointment and commenced the audit, discussed with reference to the Charter Accountants Act and the schedules thereunder whether CA Yash has complied with the same. Simple, straightforward. So you tell me whether CA Yash has complied with this or not. Come on, quickly. Quickly. What is the provision over here? Can he accept the appointment? Yes, no. Yes or no? Yes, accept. Not guilty. If government audit, they can accept. Okay. It's a iron company limited. The central government holds 72% of the paid up share capital. Yes, no, can't say. Come on, come on. Okay, now see here. Okay, what is happening in this scenario? There are two things when there's an appointment related thing. Okay, you need to understand that. So, two important things that are working in this question. One is the central government holds 72% of the paid up share capital. Central government holds 72% of the paid up share capital in the company. That means this, sorry. That means the central government over here, they are holding 72% in the paid up share capital. That makes the central government as the, this as a government company. So this is a government company, Iron Company Limited. So this becomes your government company, first of all. Now, here's the second area, which is very important to understand, is that CAS has given a conditional acceptance of the appointment and commenced the audit. Okay, this is a conditional acceptance. Now, let's go to the provision and understand the provision. And based on that, we will discuss whether it is fine or not, permissible or not. So, clause 8 accepts a position as an auditor previously held by another chartered accountant or a certified auditor who has been issued certificate under this without first communicating with him in writing. However, okay, I will show you with respect to government companies. Just give me a minute. So with respect to the government companies, okay, here there is a conditional appointment. Okay, he has not given that okay, I am accepting. He has given the conditional acceptance. Now, when there is a conditional acceptance, okay, in case of government companies, there are certain scenarios where sometimes, you need to start the audit because of the nature of the assignment. You cannot at that point in time hold the assignment. Okay. Lack of time is there in case of government companies. So if there's a lack of time in acceptance of the government audits, okay, and over there you have provided that okay, I am giving the acceptance, but that is conditional. Okay, the incoming auditor may give a conditional acceptance, not the final, which is subject to the NOC that I will receive. I need to first communicate. That is, there is no exception to that. No, I have to communicate. However, because of the lack of the time, okay, because of the lack of the time, if I have communicated, but I am yet to receive the reply, waiting for the reply from the outgoing auditor. Because of the lack of the time, I can give the conditional acceptance that my final acceptance will be based on the no objection certificate, or the communication that I will receive from the previous auditor. Okay, and in my acceptance letter, I have to make that clear to the client that the acceptance is appointment is subject to the professional objections of the previous auditor, and that I will decide once I will get the final acceptance. I will give the final acceptance after taking into the account into the information received from the previous auditor. So whatever information I will receive from the previous auditor, and because of that, if I'm not supposed to accept, I may decline, because this is a conditional acceptance, and that is only permissible in case of the government companies. Okay, in case of the government companies, not in the non-government companies. Okay, but in the case of audit of government companies, banks, or their branches, this can be triggered, that okay, conditional acceptance till the time I get the reply. Remember one thing, that here first I need to send the communication. It is not something I give a conditional acceptance and then I'm sending the communication. So if you see the chronological order of the basically the events that are happening, first send communication, then comes the conditional acceptance, and then comes the final acceptance, or whatever it may be. Okay, this cannot go on the first step. This has to be second number. After the, first you send the communication. In our question, if I go back in our question, what is happening is, here the appointment letter of the company gave very limited time to KB and Associates. Okay, CA Yash, engagement partner, communicated with the previous auditor, but due to lack of the time, he provided conditional acceptance. So first, communication has been done. Second, the conditional acceptance has been given. Third, it's a government company, and whatever the final will be, based on that, the things will be taken. So based on that, there is no non-compliance. So CA Yash has complied the provisions. Okay, in the given case, KB and Associates are appointed as the statutory auditors of the Iron Company Limited, government company holding 72%. CA Yash has given conditional acceptance. In the view of above, CA Yash is not liable for the misconduct. Remember that, not liable for the misconduct. There is a second part of this question. If CA Yash is guilty of misconduct in the above situation, okay, then before which authority the matter of CA Yash would have been placed, and what punishment could have been imposed on him? Let's say instead of giving the conditional acceptance, he gave the final acceptance. In that particular scenario, if I assume CA Yash is guilty of misconduct under clause 8 of part 1 of first schedule of the CA Act, then which will be the authority, in front of which the matter will be placed, and what punishments he can get. Quickly. So if I say CA Yash is guilty under clause 8, part 1 of first schedule of the CA Act, then in front of which authority the matter will be placed, and what will be the punishment that will be awarded to him. Okay, very good, Samaynathan. Anyone? What will be the penalty in this scenario? What will be the penalty? Quickly. Okay. And for this particular part, we have a very amazing chart in your study material. You don't have to refer anything else. There is an amazing chart in your study material on page number 19.40 for this. Okay. So what is this chart? This chart provides the disciplinary procedure and the mechanism. So if he is guilty, okay, under the first schedule, matter falling under the first schedule, it will be placed before the board of discipline. If the board of discipline accepts and conducts inquiry and found him guilty, in that case, board of discipline can reprimand the member, remove the name of the member up to the period of 3 months, and impose a fine up to 1 lakh rupees. So here he can either be, board of discipline can either reprimand the member, remove the name of the member up to a period of 3 months, and impose a fine of 2 rupees 1 lakh. That is the answer of that question. So authority, board of discipline, okay, reprimand the member, remove the name of the member up to period of 3 months, and impose a fine of 1 lakh rupees. That's your answer. Clear? Any doubt on this question? Any doubt? Yes, no? Any doubt till now, whatever we have discussed in the first schedule and the advertisement guidelines or designation section 7 or management consultancy service part? Any doubt? No? Okay. If no further doubts, what I propose over here is that please go through the second schedule. Okay. Go through the clauses which are there, read the study material, and again, I will reiterate what ma'am said in the start of this session. This LVRC sessions are not the first, way to prepare for the exam. These are for the revision. You cannot only attend a revisionary section or lectures and prepare for the exam. Go through the LVC lectures also. Okay, you need to read the study material. You need to practice. These are for revision. Along with the revision, you need reading of the study material, practicing the questions, okay, visiting the LVC lectures which are there, okay, and then along with that, you take up the LVRC lectures. By that way, you will be preparing for the exam. So do that. And in the next session, we are going to discuss about the second schedule, questions on that. And again, we will be discussing in a similar way. We will be taking up the questions, we will be discussing the topic, clarifying the topic and the explaining the. I will be explaining the topic, and then by that way we will be covering the topic by topic through questions. Okay. If you have any doubt, you can ask. Even in the next session, if you come across any doubt, you can ask. There is no restriction on that. Okay. So if no further doubt, then I propose to keep the session till here. Thank you, guys. Thank you for attending the session and participating in the session. I will meet you in the next. Thank you. Ashok ji. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.